Since we're almost halfway through 2024 already, I thought it was time for a little bit of a check-in to see what horror movies to expect for the rest of the year, because as we know, in December or, late in the year, we usually get announcements for the year to come, but they don't always have release dates, and there's usually not all of the announcements made the year prior. So I do an announcement video, kind of, if that's what you want to call it, in the beginning of the year of movies to expect for the year, but that's not always going to be all of the releases. So let's do a check-in and talk about my most anticipated movies as well. And some of these have either been announced more recently or they've gotten dates that are confirmed now and we know when to expect them. Also, this is not going to be every single movie release in 2024. I mean, there's going to be dozens of indie movies that are released or originals that are released to different streaming services. This is just an encompassing, mostly theatrical release horror movies for 2024 for the second half. As I'm filming this, I'm going to get this up before this weekend because this weekend we actually have 2 movie releases. First up, we have I Saw the TV Glow coming out May 17th, and this is done by A24. This follows a classmate who introduces teenage Owen to a mysterious late-night TV show, a vision of a supernatural world beneath their own. In the pale glow of the television, Owen's view of reality begins to crack. So this is directed by Jane Schoenbrunn, who did We're All Going to the World's Fair, so I expect it to be kind of like a weird surrealism, technology type horror movie that's very bizarre in a really cool way, so probably not a lot of like horror elements, like true horror elements, but a little bit more like weird. And this does have a PG-13 rating, so like I said, this isn't going to be like very horrifying, but I think it'll lean more into the supernatural elements. Now, this did already have a limited release on May 3rd, only in New York and LA, so if you lived there, you probably were able to see this. So there are some people who have seen this so far, but everywhere else is getting this movie May 17th. I'm not sure if every theater, if it's still going to be semi-limited or not, but if it's showing near me, I do plan to see it. I'm hoping, but I might have to prioritize the next movie because I know that's going to be what everyone wants me to talk about, and that is The Strangers Chapter 1, also comes out May 17th. After their car breaks down in an eerie small town, a young couple is forced to spend the night in a remote cabin. Panic ensues as they are terrorized by 3 masked strangers who strike with no mercy and seemingly no motive. So as we know, this is Chapter 1. Chapters 2 and 3 are also said to be released later this year. That seems a little bit too much, like a little overkill. We don't need 3 Strangers movie in a year. Unless you're like a huge fan of it, then you're probably like, yes, I do. I need all of them. I personally have a feeling that maybe parts 2 and 3 will come out next year and they'll actually space them out a little bit. I think that would be smarter to like build that anticipation. If you release them all within the same year, I just feel like people are gonna forget about them, especially because I'm not gonna lie, this one does not look that good to me. Do you guys know the TikTok creator? I think her name's Delaney, and she does like skits and comedy videos, and she does like indie movie trailers for like a nonsense movie. That's what Madeline Petsch's acting in The Strangers trailer reminds me of. It reminds me of Delaney doing a bit. That was the first thing I thought of when I saw the trailer for this. I'm sorry. I just don't know if if a reboot of The Strangers is going to be as effective as the original, because the original, like that impact of the ending, it's like we know that they just do it because, and knowing that already going in, I just don't feel like is going to be as strong because we already know that there's really no motivation. Like that's the whole point of the movie. So it kind of reduces the tension a little bit in a reboot. That's just my opinion. The original is not one of my favorite movies, but I am going to be rewatching it before watching this one because I think I need to give it another chance years and years later since I've seen it. It wasn't my cup of tea at the time. Home invasions typically aren't, but now I feel like I have a different perspective on that. So I think I will enjoy it and be frightened of it a little bit more now. Next, we have a movie called In a Violent Nature, which comes out May 31st. When a group of teens take a locket from a collapsed fire tower in the woods, woods, they unwittingly resurrect the rotting corpse of Johnny, a vengeful spirit spurred on by a horrific 60-year-old crime. The undead killer soon embarks on a bloody rampage to retrieve the stolen locket, methodically slaughtering anyone who gets in his way. So this is actually a Shudder original, and it's exciting to see Shudder originals get theatrical releases now. We saw Late Night with the Devil earlier this year, and that was a Shudder original. And I do imagine if you're not able to see this in theaters, it'll be on Shudder within like a month of its theatrical release date, so if you're not able to make it. So In a Violent Nature takes place from the perspective of the killer, so we're following the killer throughout the movie. This isn't the first time that's ever been done, but it is an interesting perspective and not one that I feel like is done a lot by any means. So I'm excited for it. It also seems to be very brutal, but I have my doubts. I feel like early reviews are just like building the hype a little bit, and it's not actually going to be super violent. I mean, maybe it'll be violent, but I don't know if it's going to be like that brutal. It kind of looks like a slow, gruesome burn, like a slow burn type horror that gets violent. Maybe it'll feel more realistic in that sense, even though it's a corpse. But I have heard it has some intense gore in it, so I'm not going to judge it before I see it. But yeah, what are your thoughts on In a Violent Nature? Are you going to go watch it? Now, the next one I just want to mention, because I feel like if I don't, there's going to be a lot of comments that say, you forgot about this. But it's not technically a horror movie. It's just like a dark action fantasy movie, technically, is what it's described as, and that is The Crow. This comes out June 7th. This is obviously a remake and stars Bill Skarsgård. So I'm just gonna announce that. I'm not excited for it. Not excited for it, but you know, I'm just letting you know I'm not gonna watch it or review it. Then we have one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and that is The Watchers, which comes out June 7th. A 28-year-old artist gets stranded in an expansive, untouched forest in Western Ireland. Finding shelter, she unknowingly becomes trapped alongside 3 strangers who are stalked by mysterious creatures every night. So the reason why I'm so excited about this is because Ishana Shyamalan is directing this. This is her directorial debut, M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, of course, and he is also on as a producer on this movie. So this is based on a book by A.M. Shine, and I am trying to get it. I might just have to buy it. I am on a wait list right now at my library for this book, and it's about a 10-week wait currently. And I don't think I'm going to get it in time for this movie to come out. But I don't know, should I read the book first? I love reading the books first, but then when I go into the movie, it's like a little less intriguing, I guess. I don't know. Like Knock at the Cabin, I felt like maybe I enjoyed it. I still enjoyed that one, but I did think the book was better. I feel like that's typically the case for me. Anyway, let me know if you've read the book. It's also titled The Watchers. Maybe I'll just buy it because I do want to read it before the movie comes out, and I have less than a month to do that. Also on June 7th, possibly on June 21st. I'm not really sure because IMDb has June 21st listed as the release date, and then Google has June 7th. So sometime in June, we're getting The Exorcism. I know what you're thinking. Another exorcism movie. Has there ever been one called The Exorcism, though? Like, we have The Exorcist, but we don't have The Exorcism. We have The Exorcism of Emily Rose. We don't just have The Exorcism. So I love straight to the point title. And no, this is not a sequel to The Pope's Exorcist starring Russell Crowe. I know. It also stars Russell Crowe. I don't know what he's doing. He's doing a lot of exorcism movies. I'm not mad at it. I honestly, genuinely like bad exorcism movies. And I'm going to be doing a video ranking exorcism movies because they're, I don't know, kind of a cool subgenre in horror. And I like them generally. A troubled actor begins to unravel while shooting a horror film. His estranged daughter wonders if he's slipping back into his past addictions or if there's something more sinister at play. Now, what's really interesting about this is we see this and we're like, oh, Russell Crowe's just doing a lot of exorcism movies. However, this movie was filmed back in November and December of 2019. That's like almost 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, he filmed this one, probably before The Pope's Exorcist. Honestly, the story for this sounds really good. I love meta horror movies where they're filming an actual horror movie within the movie, a movie within a movie. I love that trope. It doesn't really get old to me. So, and then of course it's probably like a cursed thing and there is a demonic element at play here. I think that sounds like an original idea for an exorcism movie and just sounds like fun. Then of course on June 28th we have A Quiet Place Day 1. I have such like a weird relationship with A Quiet Place because I fell in love with them after seeing the second one. I didn't love the first one and then I saw the second one and I was like, you know what, maybe I really like these. They're a little bit more action than horror to me. And I feel like A Quiet Place Day 1 is also going to feel that way. That's what it seems to be in the trailer. And I don't know why. They just released another trailer the other day, and I don't know why we needed another one. Like, the first one showed a lot. Why do we need another one? I'm tired of production companies and distribution companies creating like multiple trailers for movies when that is completely unnecessary, unless it's like in the style of Long Legs, because they're just like little teasers. One thing I will say about Quiet Place, they created this terrible movie poster, and I was like, is that real? I still don't really know if it's real. If it's not, then that's on me, but it looks terrible. I honestly wasn't going to be that excited about A Quiet Place Day 1 because we did kind of already see Day 1 and like through the eyes of the family, like John Krasinski and Emily Blunt and their family. We saw a little bit of that already, so I was like, I don't know, but I do want to see more of that. I feel like that's what the audience wants for A Quiet Place, so we're getting that. It also stars Lupita Nyong'o, which I love. So I'm really excited to see her in this kind of role. Next is going to be everyone's most anticipated movie of the year, and I have to tell you, I'm not excited about it. In fact, I did a whole TikTok on why I'm not excited about Maxine. I know that's probably, it's gonna sound really like hipster of me, like, oh my god, now everyone's excited about the trilogy and now I don't care about it, because like, I know it sounds weird because I love X and Pearl, like love them. In 1980s Hollywood, adult film star and aspiring actress Maxine Minks finally gets her big break. However, as a mysterious killer stalks the starlets of Los Angeles, a trail of blood threatens to reveal her sinister past. I just don't know what to expect with this one. You already know what I'm gonna say about modern movies taking place in the 80s. I'm really over that, especially when it seems to be really cliche, and it seems to be doing that, especially because we have Richard Ramirez and the Night Stalker in this movie. And that is, it's so overplayed. Like, we have seen his story a million times. Like, can we please move on from that? I understand you're doing a movie in the 80s and it's a horror movie. You're gonna want to do something with serial killers because that's the era, but I am so over that. Anyway, you can go watch my TikTok on my thoughts on Maxine, because I talk more about that and why I don't think it works in the trilogy thus far. I'm not judging it too harshly because I haven't seen it yet, but I'm just not excited about it. Unlike the next three movies. So the next three movies are actually my top 3 most anticipated movies of the entire year. Starting with Long Legs on July 12th, FBI agent Lee Harker is assigned to an unsolved serial killer case that takes an unexpected turn, revealing evidence of the occult. Harker discovers a personal connection to the killer and must stop him before he strikes again. This one is actually my number 1 most anticipated horror movie of the year, and I think great marketing, love it. I think other horror movies should take note, because this is how you do marketing for a movie, because it is so effective, and I know nothing about it. Like, you read the description, you understand it's going to be kind of like a crime horror thriller, but when you watch the teasers, it's like, what is going on? And this is directed by Oz Perkins, who did Gretel and Hansel, The Black Coat's Daughter, I'm the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. He does beautiful atmospheric horror movies, and Gretel and Hansel is one of my favorites of all time. Also starring Micah Monroe, Nicolas Cage. Genuinely very excited for both of them. And I've seen some people compare the vibe of this movie to Silence of the Lambs and Seven and Zodiac as well. So I feel like it's gonna have that like dark crime thriller atmosphere, probably a little bit more than the horror, but something about Oz Perkins, the way he does it just works so well for me, and I love how he makes films. So I'm genuinely, this is like my movie of the year. Next we have Cuckoo, which comes out on August 9th. I've been anticipating this for a long time. This is one that's been on my list. I talked about it, I think, last year. I said it was going to be released last year, I believe. So I've just been waiting for this movie, and I'm so excited to finally see it. 17-year-old Gretchen reluctantly leaves America to live with her father at a resort in the German Alps. Plagued by strange noises and bloody visions, she soon discovers a shocking secret that concerns her own family. I feel like the trailer, both at the same time, gives away so much of the movie, but yet I have no idea what it's actually about. So obviously you read the description, but it's like, I don't really know what the story is, how it matches up with what I'm seeing in the trailer. But this stars Hunter Schafer and Dan Stevens, and I love both of them so much. I love their acting, so I'm so excited to see this movie finally. And then for my last most anticipated movie of the year, don't worry, we're not done yet. We're only in August. We have Trap, the new M. Night Shyamalan movie. This comes out on August 9th and follows a man and his teenage daughter that realize they're at the center of a dark and sinister event while watching a concert. What's interesting about the trailer for this is it actually reveals in the trailer that the father is the serial killer, where this concert has been set up as a trap in order to catch the serial killer. And the cops are like telling him like, oh, we're actually just trying to catch this. This is all a ruse. Like, this is all just a trap, right? And then we find out in the trailer, the father is a serial killer. So it's very weird. And I think people are assuming that this is not the actual twist, because M. Night would never put his twist in a trailer like that. So there's one of two things happening here. He either is going to include another bigger twist that's something else. I don't know what it could be, but that's for him to figure out. Or he's trying to move away from doing twists and like, you know, move away from his reputation of only doing twists. And I think he kind of did that with Knock at the Cabin. Mind you, that was based on a book, so, you know, but he still changed a little bit of what happened in the book, right? Maybe that was the twist, is he changed the ending of the book in the movie, and that was the twist for it. I don't know. Anyway, but Trap kind of gives, again, that crime thriller mystery vibes. So not as dark, I'm gonna say, as like Longlegs, but similar like crime thriller atmosphere. And the rating I don't think has been released yet, so I don't know if it's going to lean PG-13, which a lot of M. Night movies typically do, or if it's going to have an R rating. Next, also on August 9th, we have Speak No Evil. A dream holiday turns into a living nightmare when an American couple and their daughter spend the weekend away at a British family's idyllic country estate. This is an American remake that definitely never needed to be. Like, usually American remakes aren't going to be as good as the foreign films, right? There are, you know, exceptions to that, The Ring being my favorite movie of all time, but this one genuinely did not need to be made, like, at all. Most of the original is in English, so if that's the issue, I don't know. The original is one of the most infuriating and disturbing movies I have ever seen in my life, and I could never watch it again. So will I watch this? I don't know. I have my doubts that the American remake will go as far as the original, because that's another thing. Americans will always make it more tame. You look at Martyrs, compared to the original, that was horrendous, okay? They toned that way down when Martyrs genuinely, I think, was a perfect movie as it is. But this movie is directed by James Watkins, who directed The Woman in Black and Eden Lake. I like both those movies very much, so, and Eden Lake is disturbing, so maybe he will push it and do an exact remake for it. I don't know. If that's the case, that's gonna be really hard for me to watch, and I don't know if I want to see it in theaters, or I'll just like prepare myself. I don't know. I'm still on the fence about how I feel about Speak No Evil remake. I still don't think it needs to be made, but will I watch it? That's the question. Next up, we have Alien Romulus, which comes out on August 16th. While scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station, a group of young space colonizers come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. So normally I am not super excited about remakes, reboots, and sequels, right? But this one, I don't know. I feel like it could be good. The trailer genuinely makes it look pretty good. Again, it doesn't show too much, but I also love the concept and the description. And this is directed by Fede Alvarez, who did the Evil Dead reboot, and that was so successful for me. Love that movie, so I'm hoping he can bring the same energy to Alien. And based on the trailer, it does look gory. And I think he likes to use some gore and some blood. So at least there's that, and hopefully it leans way more into the horror. Also, I just love good space horror. And if the budget's high enough for this, I feel like it could be really cool. Like, I hope they add more space elements in it. Next, we have a movie called Never Let Go, coming out on September 27th. This follows a family that has been haunted by an evil spirit for years. Their safety and their surroundings come into question when one of the children questions if the evil is even real. There's not a ton that's known about this yet, but it is directed directed by Alexander Aja, who directed Crawl, The Hills Have Eyes remake, and High Tension, and I really like Crawl and The Hills Have Eyes remake. Haven't seen High Tension, so I don't know. I feel like it could be good. I really enjoyed Crawl, and that's his most recent, I believe. It also stars Halle Berry, and as we know, Saw 11 has been postponed to 2025, so we aren't going to be getting another Saw movie this year, but that's okay. I can wait if it's going to be like really, really good. But this movie replaced that slot in the movie theater and, you know, for a theater release. It was originally supposed to come out on this day, but Never Let Go took its place. Next, we have the highly controversial Terrifier 3 coming out on October 11th. Art the Clown is set to unleash chaos on the unsuspecting residents of Miles County as they peacefully drift off to sleep on Christmas Eve. So this is a Christmas movie, Christmas Terrifier movie. The character of Sienna is back, and so this is going to be kind of a direct sequel to Terrifier 2. Will I see it? I don't know. I said I wouldn't. But that's because of the teaser. If you know, you know. So I'm not sure. If it's in theaters, I won't be watching it in theaters. I will wait for it to be released at home. I don't know if it will be in theaters because it's a lot. I'm not 100% on Terrifier 3. I feel like Terrifier 2 just pushed it way, way too far for me, and it was good, don't get me wrong. But can I handle Terrifier 3 now? I'm not sure. Next, we have Smile 2, which comes out October 18th, and this one would have been one of my most anticipated movies, but I am nervous of how they're going to execute a sequel for this one, because as we know how it ended, I'm not sure how we're going to continue the story along, and there's no information about the plot or anything. This is one I actually would not be surprised if it's pushed another year, because they just finished filming in March, and I feel like that's way too soon to have an October release, but maybe they'll just push it out and, you know, rush through it, which is not a good thing. I'd rather them take their time and release it next year. I don't know. So Kyle Gallner is returning, so I don't think it's going to follow him, but I think we'll see his character in the beginning of the movie, if you know what I mean. And Naomi Scott is cast as the lead, so that's why I assume it's not going to follow Kyle Gallner throughout the duration of the movie. I think because we technically have a lead cast, then, you know, we're gonna follow her and her story, not so much Kyle Gallner's character. So writer-director Parker Finn said a sequel would be notably different from the first, and that there is still a lot of interesting stuff to explore in the world of Smile. So again, this seems like a sequel that isn't necessary. I feel like we don't need it, but I will watch it, and I am cautiously optimistic that they'll do something unique with it again, because the impact of the ending of the first one is beyond. So the last movie that has a technical release date is Nosferatu, coming out on Christmas Day, December 25th. A gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake. So this is a Robert Eggers movie, and he is really hit or miss for me. So, but this one I feel like will be a hit, just because the cast is stacked. Like, the cast is incredible. Let me just read you these names. Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Willem Dafoe, Lily Rose Depp, Bill Skarsgård, Nicholas Hoult, Ralph Ineson, just for most of them. Again, this is one I'm cautiously optimistic about. I think it will be good because of the content. The casting for it, I think, is going to be really good. But then again, I didn't really love The Lighthouse, but I loved the casting for that. Like, the actors in that were incredible. There are 2 movies that are being released at a film festival, the Fantasia Film Festival in July, and are said to both be released later this year, so I wanted to mention them at the end of this video. Firstly, we have Shelby Oaks, which is directed by Chris Stuckman, who is a fellow YouTuber movie reviewer here on YouTube. And it's his directorial debut, and I'm really excited to see what someone who's in the same field as me does with a movie, because I think that's, you know, a lot of us have dreams of possibly doing that one day, or like in theory, like, oh, if I ever wrote a movie, this is what it would be, and he actually did that. So I'm really excited to see what he does, and it sounds really good, like completely up my alley. Mia frantically searches for her sister Riley after Riley ominously disappeared in the last tape of a group of paranormal investigators called the Paranormal Paranoids. As Mia's obsession grows, she begins to suspect that the imaginary demon from Riley's childhood may have been real. Now, Chris Stuckman said that this is filmed like a traditional feature with some found footage elements, which is why I think I'm going to like it, because it sounds like we're going to see the last tape and it's going to feel very found footage. And this is actually the most funded horror film ever on Kickstarter, with $1.3 million raised with almost 15,000 supporters. That is absolutely incredible. Like, go Chris Stuckman, go. So this doesn't have an official release date yet, but like I said, it will be at the Fantasia Film Festival in July. So we'll see after that if we're going to get a release date later for the year. And lastly, that I'm going to talk about is Witchboard also will be shown at Fantasia Film Festival in July. Emily and her fiance Christian discover an ancient Wiccan artifact, a pendulum board, as they prepare to open a bistro in New Orleans, French Quarter. Emily becomes obsessed with the board's power of divination and spirit summoning, exposing her to the ancient spirit of the Queen of the Witches. So this is actually a remake of the 1986 movie of the same name. It is directed by Chuck Russell, who also directed The Blob from 1988. I love The Blob movie. That's one of my favorite 80s movies. I know, can you believe I actually have those? Video coming soon on that. Again, this is one I wouldn't be surprised if we don't actually see this year, but it is rumored to come out later in the year. So that is everything I wanted to talk about in this video. Just covered a lot of movies. Which one are you most excited about, and what's your most anticipated horror movie of the year? Remember, this is not all of them ever to come out this entire year, but this is what we're looking at in the second half of 2024 for horror movies. Also, what's been your favorite horror movie release thus far? Usually the second half of the year is typically better when we move into like Halloween time, you know, the later part of the year is usually the stronger, or even summer. I feel like we get some really strong ones in summer. But what have been your favorite movies thus far? Because I know they're probably not going to be the best movies of the year that come out in the beginning of the year. That's typically not what happens, but you let me know. Leave a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.